All right, great. Well, I'm going to save the last, thank you, Tony. I'm going to save the last question for towards the end, because we have come up on our 10:45 mark. And I'd like to check in with Claire and Rachel on any questions on our platforms.
Absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have quite a few questions, but I wanted to make sure to give a few comments real quick.
Sure.
Two for Miss Tony. Somebody wanted to tell Miss Tony that they attended QOP, and another person said, congratulations on your recovery. So I wanted to emphasize that as well. And then, yeah, so those are two things I wanted to make sure to point out real quick. And also another man said, I was incarcerated and I need some help finding my way back into normality. And I just wanted to point that out and pass it on to you guys of any practical next steps that y'all could give him.
Yeah, can we, anybody out there, just to make it clear, info@cjmstlewis.org. Anybody who wants to inquire, get more information, please reach out to us through that. And I don't know if we can share that post at the end, but our email address there would be key.
They're posting now. Okay.
Great.
All right, great. All right, first question.
Rachel, you can go ahead. I know you had a few.
Okay, the first question that I had was from someone that said, can the panelists provide specific examples of clients' exit from incarceration to successful community placement?
Yeah, I think we have several. It's curious. I realize we don't have many of our alumni, but we do have, I think we have 5 alumni working for us. I would call them all successful. Folks who have come into our housing program, have gone through the 12 months, and through that process, as they're living with us, they're becoming employed, they're restoring their relationships, they're learning to live independently, and then at the end of the 12 months, they take over their apartment or they move into a permanent apartment for them. And like I said, we've got some who've been working for us 5-6 years or so who've gone through that. So we have multiple examples. We had an email just a couple of weeks ago. Our office is located across from a fire department. We got an email from a guy who said, I'm over across the street. I saw your office. I had to reach out because I've got a job now. I work for the city. I'm an engine. He works on diesel engines, and he was working on the fire engines across the street. He's been out for several years, and he said, when I came through your program, I got into a training program, and now I'm living on my own. I got a good job and doing well. So I think those are just a couple that jumped to me. I don't know, Brandon or others, if you have examples you wanted to share.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot. I know she was asking specifically about specific examples. Most of the people that come to our program completed successfully. I would say that. So, and they stay in those apartments. So there's too many to even count. But I mean, I don't know if she's asking specifically about how it looks like what we're doing throughout the year, or just like specific examples. But there's lots.
Yeah, we know that from a study a couple of years ago that our recidivism rates for folks who come into our housing programs, I believe, are about 22% compared to, I think, 60-some% is the norm for the state.
Wow. Okay.
I will go ahead and give another question. Somebody asked, how can the community get involved in a program like this?
Got lots of opportunities. Again, I'll point you to our website. We do a lot with volunteers. We're not doing as much today for some of the services where we would engage volunteers going into institutions, but there are lots of ways folks can get involved. We need help doing the work. Examples like we set up a lot of apartments for people, because when someone comes into our housing program, they move into a fully furnished apartment, and we want it to be ready and looking nice for them. And so we need help doing that. We can't pay to have that done all the time, so volunteers to do those types of things. Our ministries we can still do, like I mentioned, we're doing some of our ministries remotely. That Making It Work program I mentioned earlier, we need folks who have the skill set to do that kind of training program, and we're willing to do it online and provide support services, guidance around employment, things like that. We have office volunteers, etc. At Christmas time, we ask people to bake cookies, because we normally do a Christmas party down at some of the institutions. This last year, we just dropped off the cookies. So there are a lot of different ways to engage with us as volunteers. I think there's a lot of other agencies in the city that also, we're not the only one doing this work. So I know there's a group out there called I think it's the Star Alliance. They have directories. So there are other groups that you can engage with as well. But again, I'd point you to our website as a place to start to think about looking there. Advocacy is another big piece that people I think could be involved in. You know, we participate with other groups like Empower Missouri around the Smart Sentencing Coalition and things like that. There's other groups that are being driven by the community. One of our recent hires involved with a group called Expo. They do a lot of outreach and advocacy, and that's another way to support our work, because obviously it'd be great if we could reduce the number of people needing our services. Would be a great way to support us.
Rachel, do you want to give your other question?
Yeah, the other question was, since social support is identified as crucial, what specific work does the ministry do in terms of helping the formerly incarcerated rebuild family relationships?
Do you want to talk about the Healthy Relationships group, either Danelle or Tony?
So Healthy Relationships group came out of a grant that when the opioid epidemic came out, and it was one of the top key things that they felt would help a opioid person who was using with relationships. You know, it's all about the relationship you have with yourself that would help you to portray it to any other your relationships, whether it's a significant other, mother, father, sibling, or whatever. So Healthy Relationship Group, we began doing at Queen of Peace Center. I went into MERS Goodwill Halfway House. We've done it at our Let's Start group. We had a family healthy relationship group. We went inside St. Louis County Justice Center and done it with the men and women of the Choices Drug Treatment Program. And they really enjoyed that group. It's, you know, you would think, oh, I can do better with a relationship. And a lot of people would downplay it. We also had a group up at Mission St. Louis. So this was all offered pre-COVID. But those healthy relationship groups help people to see other people's views, you know, because it was great discussion going around, how do I rebuild this relationship? You know, and it's a well-needed group and a well-needed topic that needs to be talked about, because a lot of people have burnt those bridges, broke those bridges, and it's a big gap there. And a lot of family members, like, I'm not gonna go for that. And many times you have said you're gonna stop using, you was gonna do this and that, and those promises were broken. And so we just encourage people, you know, everybody from Delu always talk about this, the show me state. So we just gotta prove ourselves. We gotta show our children, show our family members that recovery is possible. And that is something I try to display every day. You know, that recovery is possible. I'm sure my kids, I broke promises many times. And so to gain that motherly duty and that name again probably was a challenge, but over 17 years, I have showed them that when I am better, I can do better. I'm gonna make better choices. I'm gonna be a better mother than I previously was. You know, time goes on, I gain more knowledge. I'm still in the process of this. So, you know, I hear about other relationships and I engage them. Before, I didn't listen to what kids had to say or whatever. It's all about what I put out there and whatever, but a kid have a voice in any kind of thing that affects the home. Mm-hmm. And so I listen to my children, and as well as I want them to listen to me. So I put out what is also put into me. You know, life is like an ATM. What you put in it is what you get out of it. So healthy relationships is is crucial to bettering a relationship. And we talk about all things, you know, how to mend those things, how to make amends, you know, and address the issues at hand. You know, we got to get better first so that we can have a better, healthy relationship.
And we do, just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, we do for our clients, we have a clinician on staff, and we also refer people, because I think as Tony's pointing out, there's a lot of dealing with your own trauma first, And so we do try to provide support like that. Our case managers certainly work with that. There are the realities for some of our clients, after 20 some years, et cetera, coming back to the community, they may not have those family members, et cetera. So part of what we're trying to do is to get them into relationships with the community. It may not be family, et cetera, but just to connect with other support groups and services.
Great.
That's also true. So important. So another question I just got is, it's hard being a felon because nobody wants to hire you, nor do they want to take a chance on you and rent to you. How can that stigma be broken amongst people who have been incarcerated?
I can answer that one very easily from a personal perspective. Yeah, so it's challenging. So I'm a twice convicted felon, and I can tell you that I still struggle day to day with just being able to do the normal things. So when I got this apartment that I'm currently in, the only reason I got into this apartment is because this is one of the landlords that we actually use for our clients. Well, not this apartment in particular. So that's how I got hooked up with this, and they kind of overlooked my criminal background. But anytime I go to try to apply for an apartment like that, I know my record's going to come up. Luckily, much like Tony, I have 8 years sober. I have the evidence to support how it changed my life. But even so, some people would just plainly just not even give me a chance. Now, we have been working at CJM with some different landlord companies, in particular Foxgrove Management. They've recently been trying to shift some of the eligibility criteria as far as, because generally speaking, when you apply for an apartment and they run your name through a system, it's just kind of looking for specific things on your background, and they're just kind of X you out just like that. So they're currently revamping some of those things right now to where it doesn't go back maybe 7 years. It only goes back maybe a year or 3 years based on the offense that you have on your record. So it's making it a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about, one of the things we suggest is if you're recently released and you're trying to get an apartment, go to independent landlords. Do not go to these companies because they have standard criteria that they have to meet. And that's just not effective. So I always tell people when they call, go on Craigslist, find somebody that's an independent landlord, make sure that you have money ready, and just present yourself. Talk to these people in person, because then you'll have a better shot. Because if anybody looks at me on paper, they're not going to like me. But if you generally have a chance to meet me, you can see that I have my life somewhat together, and that I'm doing rather well. So that's one of the biggest questions we get, especially when people reach out to us, is how we navigate that system.
Housing. I think on the employment piece, what I would throw out is there are groups that are advocating and trying to do this. There's a program affiliated with St. Louis University called Second Chance. They do a job fair. They're doing the work of targeting employers to work with this population to overlook the criminal record and not make that something that you automatically disqualify someone. There are movements to ban the box. There's legislation to provide more opportunities. Like there's something in right now about, allowing folks with a record to work at places that sell lotto tickets, because right now they can't. So, they're not allowed to work at a grocery store or a convenience store because they happen to sell lotto tickets. So I think there's, again, the advocacy piece where folks could support that. But again, agencies out there like the Second Chance Job Fair and Employment Connections, et cetera, provide resources to help target people who are willing to hire folks and not use their record as something to disqualify them immediately.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have 2 more. Rachel, did you have any more?
Nope.
Okay, so one that happened in the very beginning of the show, someone said, "This is sad and disturbing. Something needs to be done. Why are they holding 31 inmates in a cell with 1 toilet?" And I just wanted to put it out there, see if y'all had any comments or thoughts on it.
Yeah, I saw that on the news last night. It's been a big talk around what happened down at the City Justice Center.
Right.
And so that comes from the city, and how the man said the holding cell wasn't big as his closet at home, and they would hold 31 detainees in that room with 1 toilet and not even a bed. And so I do find that disturbing. And I hope that the task force that they have assigned to that, that people are listening and they make some changes about, the city justice center, any jail or prison. A lot of detainees that are in the city or the justice center, county or whatever, they have not been convicted of a crime. They just been held there.
Right.
So, and if you are guilty of the crime still, they are human. And people need to be treated as human status, and things need to be afforded to them like it's afforded to everyone else. So I do think that, and I'm hoping that things change due
Yeah.
to all that coming out of that.
Yeah, I think the we can point to those dramatic examples, but I think we all know that there is a problem with the way that we approach uh, justice, to policing, incarceration, et cetera, in our society. And I think that's the bigger picture of us getting informed and getting out there and participating with these groups who are doing more. Our work is not, we touch into advocacy a little bit, but our work is really the reentry services, the services to folks. We're not doing as much there. There are other organizations that are doing a lot of great work around informing people, educating, and pushing for the type of change that needs to happen around the way that we treat folks, punishing folks for not being able to pay their pre-court fines, et cetera. So you have to stay in jail just because you don't have the money to pay a bail, et cetera. There's those kind of things that we need to look at as a society as to what are the appropriate ways we handle people, because you get these situations where you have 30 people in a cell. Today, when we're talking about all the impact of COVID and how we should be trying to reduce and avoid it, just all these reasons why that should never be something that happens. But that's
Right.
what we would encourage folks, is to get informed and to get your voice heard out there to the folks who make decisions about the way we allocate funds and the way we treat folks.